Everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Wellness Shot. My name is Dr. David Orman, and after a week off, back in action for the week of the 18th of May. Today's topic is going to be about memory, one of my favorite topics. When I was in school, especially for acupuncture, not so much other courses, but acupuncture, herbal medicine, it wasn't that it was terribly difficult to learn. It's just that it was a massive volume of information. For example, we had 365 major points. You had to know the location, the anatomical marks, what it was useful, what it was counter to, what meridians it would enter, et cetera, et cetera. And then we also had to learn about the same number of herbs and herbal formulas. Again, not terribly difficult, but just the volume got larger and larger and larger. And so the idea of just grinding through, especially when, for example, I went to school on an accelerated program and I worked full time, and I also worked part time as well as the editor of the California Acupuncture Association Journal. So time was a key element. So I was able to find specific methods and ways to develop memory, which I'm going to share now. In no particular order, I'm going to start with shall we say, biochemical. So there are certain substances which are excellent to improve the function of memory, to increase memory. And as a side effect, you get also other types of improvement. So I'm going to start with the first one, which is called ribonucleic acid, also known as RNA. RNA is food specifically for part of the brain in the back here called the cerebellum. And the cerebellum plays a major part in memory. The cerebellum is also one of the backup systems to the heart. So a lot of times when the heart is weaker than what it should be, it's not necessarily the heart itself. It's a weakness of the cerebellum. How does one get a weak cerebellum, so to speak? Overwork, overstress, poor nutrition, poor sleep, lack of activity. That's kind of the answer for almost everything. A lot of that, almost everything actually can be traced to those particular factors. There may be others also, but those are the major ones. RNA does a fantastic job of stimulating that battery pack of the brain, which is really what the cerebellum is, to improve the functioning of the brain, which increases memory, which also increases the ability to visualize, and also increases creativity. And then as a side effect, side benefit, it improves the functioning of the heart, which will allow a person to, oh, I feel like myself, their spirits will come up, the energy level will be there. So it is, again, an outstanding substance. The second one is called ginkgo biloba. And ginkgo, actually, there are two of them. One of them is ginkgo biloba. A lot of people know this one. And basically what this herb does is increase the oxygenation throughout the body, but especially to the brain. So you have improved circulation, both of energy, of oxygen, and ultimately of blood. So when that occurs, the optimal functioning of the brain starts to happen. The brain is designed to store memories, to store information, et cetera, to look for patterns, et cetera. So it will help to improve that. Now, for some people, they get kind of hyper on ginkgo biloba. A lot of times acute insomnia, or they'll be talking like this. They don't know why they're talking this. They didn't have any. It's almost as if they had 3 espressos. Yours truly is one of them. So there is an alternative that gives you the benefits that ginkgo does, but it doesn't give you the hyperactivity. And it's called Gotu-Kola. It's spelled Gotu, first word, Kola. And yes, it does sound like a soft drink, but it is not. It is an excellent herb, which, as I mentioned, almost identical functioning that ginkgo does, but it does not give you that hyperactivity. Fantastic for improving the memory. Ginkgo is one of those substances that got me through school. Ginkgo also has a unique and extremely pleasant, particularly if you're over the age of about 40, side effect, which is it tightens the skin. So it reduces the amount of wrinkles. Some people, it's a little bit of an exaggeration, we'll call it a facelift in a bottle. Not quite. If a facelift is a 10 and you did nothing and is a 1, ginkgo hovers around that 5 or 6. So you do notice the improvement, absolutely, but not quite a facelift. But you could knock 10 years off, depending on your age and other factors. So those are the biochemical ones, ginkgo biloba or gotu kola, and also RNA. In terms of what I would call mechanical um, techniques or methods, there is one called spaced repetition. So if you're learning, for example, vocabulary for a new language, or if you're learning something on a list, what the spaced repetition systems do is they follow what's called the forgetting curve. Most people have heard of the learning curve, where there are specific methods and steps that the brain typically follows. Well, it also follows a forgetting curve. We've all experienced, yeah, I learned it years ago, but I don't remember it. But when you start to review it, it comes back. So there is a free one called Anki, A-N-K-I. It is for iPhones as well as Android, where it allows you, where you would start to drop off in terms of memory, it will remind you, study right now. So it may be for the first set, maybe 20 minutes, and then the next one will be an hour, next one will be 2, etc. So it will give you the exact time where there's typically a drop off of specific words or concepts or whatever is on your list. So say you have a list of 10 and 5 of them you nailed and 5 of them you're a little wobbly on. Well, it will show those 5 more, the last 5 more frequently than the first 5, as well as the timing aspect. Fantastic idea. This started in 1971. There was a professor who was teaching language, and he noted that there was a pattern of drop off, specifically of vocabulary. So that's one particular method that is excellent. It's free. Everybody has a phone. There you go. The next one is our specific points on the body, acupuncture points that help to stimulate the brain, that help to stimulate memory, and that significantly improve overall wellness, but especially of the brain. One of them is called DU number 20, do 20. So if you folded your ears forward and you found the apex of the ear and you just followed up to the very, very top of the top of the skull in line with the nose, you'll have a point that is maybe a little bit smaller than a quarter. And it's unusually flat compared to the rest of the skull, and it's unusually softer compared to the skull. And it is an excellent point for a number of things. The star of the show, of course, is improving memory. And so if you imagine this as a stick of butter and your finger as a hot poker, you slowly, in a clockwise direction. So you imagine a clock on top of your head. So you would go from right to left as if you were drilling inside and actually wanting to touch the brain. Of course, in reality, you're only going a couple of centimeters into that area. But it should feel as if you are drilling, and then hold it for about 20 to 30 seconds and then uncoil. So you're drilling in, holding, slowly pulling back out. So the whole process is only going to take about, maybe a minute. And if you did that a couple of times a day, it will stimulate the brain. As a side effect, again, uh, one of the things I love, just a sidebar here, one of the things I love about natural medicine is we rarely deal with side effects the way Western medicine does. We deal with side benefits. And one of the great side benefits of this is that is the point that has been traditionally used to connect with divine, to connect with spirit. So I don't know what I want to do with my life, or I pray a lot, or I do this a lot, I go to service a lot, but I don't seem to be making progress, or I don't seem to be hearing, I don't seem to be inspired. This is the point that can bring that inspiration. what it does is create stillness, create quiet, and create focus. And somewhere in that stillness, somewhere in that quiet, you get inspired. Oh, wait a second. I think I should move, or I should take that position, or whatever the case is, whatever you may be struggling with or confused about, or just plain old would like you're doing well and want to do better. That is one of these points that connect to, however you wish to call it, to Tao, God, Buddha, call it Uncle Louie if you wish. You know what I'm referring to. Great Spirit, your higher self. They all mean essentially the same thing. I don't know, but other than Uncle Louie, they all mean essentially the same thing. So that is a fantastic point as well. So between the space repetition and that point, from the physical standpoint, you are covered and then some. And I also wanted to mention another acupuncture point. So if you use your forearm and the pinky side of the forearm, right where the wrist hand connection comes in. So it's as if you can take your hand off if it was removable and you could put it back on right where that first crease is on the pinky side. And it's about the size of maybe the size of an eraser on a pencil. And it's called heart 7, heart number 7, heart number 7. And a lot of times that point is very tender, very achy. It feels as if you were touching a bruise. And that particular point, again, fantastic for improving memory, but also fantastic for calming the spirit. So one of the enemies, so to speak, of memory or great memory is chronic stress and high levels of cortisol. This particular point is the equivalent of taking about 2.4 milligrams of Valium without the side effect. So in other words, it calms a person down and does so relatively quickly. So when you are in that call, in the zone, in the flow, whatever you wish to call it, where learning becomes easy and it becomes interesting and it becomes fun, this point will help you get in the flow. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I greatly appreciate it. And if you have any questions, any topics you'd like, let me know and I will jump on that. Thanks again for listening. Bye-bye.